We have broad agreement in Congress on about 80% of what we're trying to do.
Committee participants have reached broad agreement on a statement that sets forth our longer-run goals and policy strategy. Committee participants have reached broad agreement.
Make it. Nonetheless, there's very broad agreement in both governments from the very top that we have to reduce the arsenals below the levels we agreed in the last agreement.
2017, it says that there is broad agreement on the needs for increased arts education.
So there's broad agreement that our defined benefit plan needs help with the funding.
But there is broad agreement and clarity about one thing. Online Russian propaganda is a real force.
There was broad agreement in revolutionary America that standing armies, that is to say armies that are maintained by governments in peacetime, represented a threat to liberty.
There was no broad agreement on that issue at all. We decided that often institutions were extraordinarily good at developing partnerships.
So I'm hearing broad agreement that these issues need to be addressed. I kind of like the idea of a policy working group.
But we can surely find ways to work together on issues where there's broad agreement among the American people.
That paleoanthropologists are not in broad agreement on the number of species that existed at particular periods of time. But another challenge is that paleoanthropologists are not in broad agreement on the number of species that existed at particular periods of time.
Decide we'll rent. It was broad agreement that this was something that government should do. And I think if people are, distrustful.
In some cases, there's broad agreement. In some cases, there's broad agreement on the steps we should take. We're now seeing broad agreement thanks to the work that has been done over the last few days. We're now seeing broad agreement thanks to the work that has been done over the last few days. So even though we still have a few issues to work out, what's remarkable at this point is not how far we have left to go. It's how far we've already come.
But even if they disagree, I think there would be pretty broad agreement that all the different rates at all the different income levels, at all the different types of gains and ordinary income, that makes the tax forms incomprehensible, that those are something that could be hugely simplified with.
It's broad agreement that our students are not achieving at the levels that we would like them to achieve.
And you're quite right, we've got a broad accent.
So you have like a broad accent that normally correlates with people in the country. You have a middle accent, and we used to have this really fancy accent that sounded like a British BBC presenter.
He told Metro when he worked with, quote, a particular Australian director who happens to have a very broad accent. Baker
Anne beams a broad smile at Loveday.
Suffering. If you understood that, why would you have that big, broad smile, right? She came from the United States because she had that big, broad smile, and they were
thinking, and finally this broad smile across his face, and goes,
The woman with the broad smile became known throughout Japan after employees and guests watched her being sucked into a whirlpool.
And she broke into that rare broad smile of hers.
He was known for walking the streets of the cities where he worked, tasting the local food, meeting as many people as he could, speaking Arabic, listening with a broad smile. Wells was just 24 years old, with a broad smile and a bright future.
And in doing so, they've put a broad smile on the face of the nation. So it was his father's Aston Martin. It has been their day, but they've taken such obvious delight in sharing their happiness with everyone who has wanted to be part of it. And in doing so, they've put a broad smile on the face of the nation.
State, I believe that Father Drew's spirit will break into a broad smile as his work on earth is taken up by others.
Just to hear him speak with a broad smile and supreme confidence, he praised the newest release of the
and this broad smile just erupted on her face. And
there was a broad hint they do have nuclear warheads.
Ambassador Bouvard broadly hinted.
You would have thought you might have taken some very broad hints.
This constant barrage of propaganda, of depiction of us as being evil.
Now, my sources are telling me they're getting a barrage of anonymous and credible tips, with all roads in this investigation leading to the Kryptonian visitor.
What a delight it must be to function as my sole outlet for a never-ending barrage of introspective blather regarding the choices that I have made.
And then the king did counter with a barrage of slashes and thrusts so fast and precise that the Step King had no way to parry.
This barrage of negative articles.
Performance with a constant barrage of news. And here comes this barrage of insults. By precisely targeting a barrage of missiles. Shoes without being barraged by.
Are you quite finished with your barrage of insults?
By bombarding her with a barrage of pregnancy statistics that inevitably veers off into a saccharine barrage of angst.
A constant barrage of eye-opening conspiracies and ad-libbed innuendo.
Finally, a barrage of searing pain as snot pours from the nostrils.
Barrage with lefts and rights to the head, to the body, to the head.
After the mortar barrage last night, we got a 19th and 20th hole.
You think you get stupid questions? You should hear the barrage of stupid questions I...
The minister had to put up with a barrage of questions, insults from the angry audience.
The minister had to put up with a barrage of questions, insults from the angry audience.
The price is so high, the commodity of avocados has attracted a spate of thefts from orchards and delivery trucks worldwide.
December. Over the past week or so, we have had a spate of pedal cycles thefts reported to us.